Hello, my name is Dominic Underhall and welcome to another episode of Moonbreaker. We are now here in Command and Control, and there's loads of questions flying around about how to play the new format, how to build a list, what should I be running, and I think that's something that I really wanted to just have a little look at from just an experimental point of view to give you an idea of, how I tend to go through these processes, and I'm going to have a go at building a list on this video here, and then we're going to play a game and see how it goes. So, if you enjoy this sort of content, you want more, you want to learn more about Moonbreaker, please do subscribe to the channel. You can drop a comment down below, let me know what you want to see in the future, I'm happy to do so. Or you can hit the like button, and if you really want to support us, head over to the Patreon. But for now, let's jump into the roster builder and see what we want to do from here. So, there's a huge number of changes to the units here, loads and loads and loads, and I'm familiar with some of them. However, I'm going to try and do some content on some of the biggest changes coming up in a future video. But for now, we're going to look at building a roster. You'll also see here, I have cleared my list of rosters, because the entire format, previous format, all the old lists, they're pretty much irrelevant now, because you can try and tweak them for the new system, but it's mostly not even just because of how the leadership works, that is a huge factor, but also because of the fact you start with 5 leadership to deploy immediately, then you're actually going to be deploying more units than you think straight away. So having that 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop curve is less important because you can just focus on what units you want to play on that first turn. So when starting a new list, the first thing I'm going to say is that while I think Extilior's extremely strong at the moment, Astra's extremely strong, I probably think Zax might even be slightly behind the other two, but I might be wrong, might be still slightly behind. However, I think Zax has got the best tools to deal with the sort of standard meta as a new player. Again, I've not played as many games of this as a lot of other people have. There's other players out here who are far more experienced than I am. However, I've had at least enough to know how I like to build things. So, the reason I want to pick Zax is for basically 2 reasons mostly. One of which is his passive of back off to push a target when Zax hits, or gravity disc to move units in an area together. Between those 2 things, you've got a lot of control over movement on the board, and there's no assists anymore. Assists have disappeared, so without assists, that is such a rare skill, and you're going to want to put some of that in your roster every single time. But having Zax there means you've got at least some of it as sort of like a get out of jail free card. If you've forgotten to deploy it in time and your opponent plays something like a Turncoat and you can't pull your unit out of range, or you can't kill the Turncoat, you're in a lot of trouble. So being able to deploy something like this really does give you, that extra utility as and when you need to. So maybe just save you losing an entire unit for the rest of the game. So the first thing I'm going to look at is what we want to do in terms of starting up. Now, there's a few options here. Because objectives exist, Ursix Scattervine is a really solid play to just take an objective point, try and gain additional Cinder, because obviously you can play at turn 1, you can make a copy, that gains you 2 Cinder from turn 1 onwards, and it only costs you 2 leadership. It does have an impact on the board, and the only other thing it does anywhere near is Fate Twister Tanton that doesn't really have an impact on the board. So that's one idea of something you can do early, but it's not necessarily one I'm going to go with. Strange enough, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up Aria. So range damage is really important if you want to try and keep the pressure up, especially if people are playing units that you suddenly need an answer to. Range damage really matters, and Aria having ambush means that you can start putting her on a control point really early on, one that you otherwise couldn't reach, because ambush lets you deploy anywhere on the battlefield. So, other things that we're going to want to have in this list. So, I've heard a lot about Broken Vengeance being a lot better than it used to be, but at 3 cost that's something I'm unsure whether it's something I want, but I like the idea of it. Maximus, however, is fantastic. So, not as good as it used to be, doesn't generate Cinder, but we're not looking for a really high Cinder intensive list most likely. We're still going to want to have some abilities, some generation, but Maximus is something that really does work on that front. On a similar note, we're actually going to probably put in Torian Guardian. Now, because Torian has actually been buffed to having a 60% accuracy debuff, it's really, really useful to have that in there versus attacking base lists, and you also need to find ways of dealing with it yourself, because if you can't deal with a Torian, you're probably going to struggle. So, this is sort of where I've started off. Now I'm thinking about it, needing that immediacy, that extra impact on the board, I am going to put Scattervine in this list, because if you are trying to take something out and you've not reacted to it quickly, Scattervine gives you that little burst of damage. Sometimes you only need 1, sometimes you need 2, but it allows you to take something off the battlefield that you otherwise might not be able to, and sometimes you can just start taking a couple of early control points. I probably would save it for other uses, and especially till you've got more Cinder, but Scattervine's really, really powerful in this current meta. So, we mentioned how good Torian is currently, so I want some things to deal with Torian as well. So we need to sort of figure out what that's going to be, and usually that's going to be units with some sort of AoE. Now it may surprise you if you played the previous format, Detonia is really, really good at the moment. So she only generates 1 Cinder, but between her and Zax you can always use her ability every single time, and you've got 1 Cinder left over, so between that and Aria you can use both of their abilities. That's usually a pretty good turn 1 setup there. It's pretty reasonable. And also the 1-drops now, so there's a lot of variety here as to what we want to pick on 1-drops, because we've now got 4 1-drops, Antios, Tali, Stitchy McPatchy and Taria Arsenal. So I think Deadeye was considered to be there at one point but has now gone back to 2, and I think that doesn't really work on this front. So I'm not sure if any of these jump out at me straight away, because none of them generate Cinder, which is important to note. Is that I'm fairly sure that's very intentional to make sure you can't just get loads of really cheap 1-drops out. So things that we're going to want from here. AoE damage, we've already got Detonia, but we probably want a little bit more than that. So Axl Pyro starts to look like quite a good option here. Axl's very powerful on that front. Rickety with the explosions, but again, no Cinder generation there. It's something that we might need. And other than that, Peacemaker Balm again, really useful, but no Cinder generation. And the things at the top end of this start to get quite worrying as to how much they cost when you're looking at putting them on the battlefield. So I'm probably looking towards the cheaper side. So I'm going to put Axl Pyro in for that front, so that way we've got Axl and Detonia who can both help deal with units that Torian's defending, and obviously Aria can attack through the debuff as well. So we've got a really nice section of early units. Now what you'll notice here is I've not got anything that costs more than 2 or 3. And I've not put any 1-drops in yet. I'm still considering whether I will do or not, but for now I quite like this approach. Now what I want to do is, the way that the resource works is that 2 and 3 is optimal for playing on your first turn, because you get 5 leadership, so you can play a 2-drop and a 3-drop, and that leaves you in a pretty good position. So here we've got 2 3-drops and 4 2-drops. But then on following turns you only ever gain 3. So one of the things that I like to consider is how do you get more expensive units onto the battlefield? And one of the ones we want to play is Turncoat. So Turncoat is just really powerful, allows you to take control of another unit if you position well, and with Zax having positioning tools, it really does help on that front. And what you've got to bear in mind is that for future turns, what you're going to try and be doing is alternating between playing a 2-drop one turn, so playing one of these on one turn. The following turn, you've carried over 1 leadership, you can afford a 4-drop unit. So you could either do that for a couple of turns and save up for a 5-drop, or you can just do it alternating between 2s and 4s. Looking at the 5s in the game at the moment, we've got Aegis Sentinel, Flurry, Furia, Noxie and Switchback. Now these are all very powerful, but whether or not they do what you need them to is a little bit up in the air, especially considering that essentially you have to save up for 2 turns to have the value of playing it. So personally, at the moment I'm leaning towards 4-drops. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to have to decide Chuck and Co or Crankbait first of all, because I think the movement abilities are really, really powerful in this format, and then I probably want something that deals a little bit of damage or is a good finisher here as well. I think I'm probably going to start by going for Chuck and Co first, and see how we feel about this. What I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to swap that with Axl Pyro, just to make sure we can actually see our poor little thing. Wherever Chuck and Co's gone, there we are. Pop Axl back in. Okay, so on my early turn I'm probably playing like Aria Maximus or something like that, or Aria Detonia is quite nice for that, avoiding different angles, depends how big the map is. We've got some long range shooting, we've got some good combat abilities, we've got some mid-range things here. So what do we want to finish this off? Now, I do quite like Nectarvine. You can always play it, but it does now take 1 turn to activate, so that's not always going to be the right choice. Tona Mystic Manteo makes a lot of Cinder, but I don't think we're going to be hugely Cinder intensive with this list anyway. If we have a look at it, we've got obviously Aria, but doesn't need to use it all the time. Detonia, who can use it quite easily in conjunction, Axl Pyro and Turncoat. So if we had all these on the battlefield, we've got 2 here, 2 there, and we're only 1 Cinder short of activating this. So any of these 2 or Chuck on the battlefield means we can use all of our premium abilities in 1 turn as and when it's needed. So the question is, do we need anything here for the late game? I'm going to have a look through and see if anything jumps out at me. So the thing to bear in mind is this is genuinely off the top of my head. I'm not just doing this for the sake of it. I'm genuinely thinking this through and thinking, you're hearing my entire thought process out loud. So what do we have here that could be a good finisher? So there's always Florio, but Florio taking 2 whole turns to deploy is quite a worry. However, if you're playing a Scattervine, you can spend your turns creating Scattervines, fill up the board, and then just wait for one to die, basically. and then you can fill that gap with Florio Lancer. Peacemaker Balm is good, but again, Cinder intensive and doesn't provide any Cinder. Amplifier Bytol is actually very powerful with our couple of range units and Zax, but not so much with our utility. So I'm not sure where I really want to go from here. I'm trying to think. We need 2 more units. I think a bit of longevity could be nice, some way to keep the game going if it goes a bit long, some way of keeping us safe. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to put Stitchy McPatchy in, and on a similar front to that, I'm going to look for maybe a 5-drop. So the reason I want to do this is because it means that we can go for a Stitchy one turn and then a 5-drop the next turn, or we can just go 2 2-drops and then a 5-drop if there's one that really takes our fancy here. So what do we want to look at? We have got a couple of AoEs that make Flurry work quite well, and Flurry being resilient is quite powerful, but also quite easy to be used against you if your opponent's got good positioning. Furia is good for just ticking up, but this isn't a Furia dedicated list, and it might be worth considering that. And then we've got Switchback and Noxie. Noxie I think is a bit underwhelming so far. It is an extra body, but it's not. It's quite a long grind to get Noxie to be worth it. I actually think Furia could be the play. And the thing I like about Furia is that you could actually just, and I would even recommend, spend 1 turn ticking her up and then use that the next turn to take out a unit, and maybe alternate that, sometimes charge 2 turns, and just try and find ways of getting value out of her rather than just thinking, oh, I'm just going to, throw it out straight away and try and stack up to kill the enemy captain. Sometimes it's useful, and it's also really, really good versus armoured units, and given that we've got Stitchy McPatchy in the list, I feel like we're quite powerful in that front as well. So, first, Zax. If I can spell. Oh my goodness. There we go. Like 5 attempts there to spell a very simple phrase. So you can see here what I've considered. I've considered my Cinder income, I've considered my curve, I've considered how I'm going to play these more expensive units, and I've only gone for 3 of them so that I can alternate between these as well. And I think this feels like it's got a good shot to me. It feels like it could be reasonable. So I'm going to jump into a game with this and see how it goes, and see if there's any tweaks we can make. But this is my sort of list building process, how I've gone about it. You've seen me do it from scratch. I also don't think I've ever noticed this pattern before. Is that? Yeah, that looks quite cool. I've never noticed that. Maybe that's a new one, I'm not sure, but I'm going to keep that for that exact reason. So, for now, I'm going to queue up, look for a game in a PvP arena, and see how this goes. Again, really, really unsure how this is going to be, but this feels like the right decision-making process to me. I know we've got units that have a decent amount of power, and they can leverage that in a game scenario. So, once we find a game, I'll see you in there, and we can have a bit of fun. Okay, we have found our game. We're against Yang Seal, level 38. So I'm not familiar with Yang Seal, I've not played against them. You can see here as well we've got our awesome little new logo from the Battle Pass. I am working my way towards those glitter paints, don't you worry, I'm working on it right now. Okay, so we're against an Extilior, we're in Truck Capture. So I believe this is, 2 control points either side, 1 in the middle. I'm not too worried about the Cinder Piles because that's not something we're working on, and the opponent is going first. So with their deployment, I'm curious as to what they're going to do, because we can actually either take this objective and try and force them onto it, which they'll probably do quite easily. Okay, with Detonia that instantly means that we're not going to be trying to take out their... trying to play Scattervine. Oh, they're saving Cinder. Interesting. So we can't actually quite get into range to poke Detonia easily, so we're just going to take the shot at Extilior, which we do nicely. Now the question here is, what do we want to do in terms of playing things out early? Do we want to go for Furia? They look like they're saving up 6 Cinder, so playing something fairly big could be quite nice, and we just need to stay out of Detonia's range, which is, massive now. Okay, so what do we want to do here? I honestly think this could be Aria just in a strange location and Maximus still, maybe? So like putting an Aria down here just to try and get a different angle, and Maximus isn't going to be safe no matter what, so we're just going to not try and worry about taking the point, and they don't have anything else, so we're going to pop a Sleeper Mine up here. So they've only got 3 Cinder, but they're going to play a 6-drop, so we wanted to apply pressure to the battlefield quite early on. This is pretty reasonable. So the way they're running at us makes me think that we should start considering trying to run at them onto the battlefield. This Detonia range is nonsense if that can hit there. Okay, it can't quite, that's good. But we need to start putting something hefty to hold that point. Oh, so they're going just for Toner. Okay. That's fine, we can push damage onto Toner fairly easily. Like, it's not going to be quickly, but it'll be easy enough. Because we can just activate here, use this and shoot, maybe even move Max and get some shots off, and just try and take it easy on that front. I wasn't expecting to see Toner early on, but there is going to be... Okay, so this is obviously hit and run here, if it's an ambush unit. If they place hit and run somewhere near us, we're going to just expend our resources trying to take that out instead. So yeah, somewhere like here, we'll just use Grav Disc to pull it up, take multiple shots. And this is going to be... Okay, they're going back in range. So... Okay, it's Torian. So we knew Torian was a possibility. Aria can at least deal with some of that slowly. But the question is that what we want to do? So with 3 Cinder here, we're probably looking at playing either Axl or Detonia. Now, what if we do this? This could be fun, because what we can actually do here is if we Grav Disc these, and you get them all together, get some explosions off there. If Maximus can hit this, this actually blows up as well. It didn't hit Torian, unfortunately. I thought that was going to hit Torian, I'll be completely honest. So... now we're not looking too good on range. I thought that was going to absolutely hit Torian there, so that was a bit of a mistake of mine. It's not really any difference in accuracy percentages here. But we do need to stay away a little bit with Aria, so... Strange enough, this is slightly higher, so we just guess we go for that. Yeah, we missed, that's fine. Torian has to be our focus here. So I actually think we're in a little bit... I should have Sleeper Mine first. So pop a Sleeper Mine down there. And then this is time to bring our own Detonia in, with the intention of bringing something more expensive in the next turn. So with 4 Cinder, they're actually going to score points really quickly. We need to start throwing ourselves out there. Detonia's going to get 2, possibly 3 hits here. But if Detonia comes out, that's what we want. We need to try and work our way towards this. Because we can't leave Detonia, we can't leave any of this. I actually think Yang Seal's in a really good position here. They can absolutely take us out a bit. If they don't spend their Cinder as well, then they can just sit there with Toner and bank up health. Because they can heal up to 23 here. Which isn't good for us in the slightest. Given that we need 4, actually, this could be a chuck and go turn. Just put it down. Unless we can get some real damage going out somewhere. I am genuinely quite concerned about how this is going to go. Okay, Beatrice is fine. We can deal with Beatrice, but we need to just try and contest these objectives, I think. Yeah, I don't know how to deal with Toner and Torian at the same time. It just means that we're basically never going to complete what we need to here. But let's start just going for some AoE damage. There we go. So we hit all of those for that. Detonia can come and do her thing over here. Which is all good. I do think we need to just go for Torian. So if we're doing that, how far can that move? Okay, so kind of just want to be about here. And just push for the best we can get. We did get it, which is nice. Honestly, I think we just do the same as Zax and just go for a different approach in a moment. So 36% could get it. That's a huge deal. Okay. So now, we probably want to go for Detonia and then run back towards Beatrice again. Do you know what we should do? Is we should just try and... Oh, I'm running out of Cinder here. Let's just deploy Chuck and Go in here. And just move here so Beatrice can only realistically hit one of us. They're still going to be hugely ahead on points, but we need to start slowing this down now. Oh wait, they're on 8. Oh, we're going to need to start scattervining for those points. So next turn is our scattervine for points turn, because we're in trouble otherwise. Okay, I did think that was blocked, that's good. The interesting thing here though is that we are very safe. Okay, so they can kill Maximus. That's probably what I do, is try and hit Max, maybe Detonia. And then we can just start scattervining over here to take this out. I don't think we're out of this yet, but we're not doing good on the points front. Because we don't currently hold any, and they're going to gain 4 next turn if we don't change this. So working out how to do this is going to be interesting. Yeah, Scattervine's going to be our best friend now. But if we take out all their units, then it's fine. This is probably incorrect. You need to take out Maximus or something at least. Because otherwise we're just going to have... Yeah, that's the choice there. You take out a unit at the very least. We're going to be able to Scattervine across the map, probably. Chuck can just, yeah, come over here, which is fine. Might even be able to Scattervine, chuck a Scattervine over. Yeah, I think we can, and get damage on them. And they're going to, what, save some Cinder and try and heal? Nectarvine, that's fine, but Nectarvine doesn't trigger immediately anymore. So we've got a chance here. They heal 3. And now we start messing around with points. So, let's poke this. Chuck can come over here, probably. Go for that. We're going to put ourselves in danger intentionally here, so that we can try and deploy a Scattervine there. Okay, so Scattervine can just pop over and get in range. We'll grow one over here, which can then attack Torian. Sorry, Toner. We're going to toss this. And then I guess we just keep applying pressure so that they can't do anything much. Where does Beatrice get to? There. So if we come up here, which should let us damage all 3 of these. And we've got one more to deploy, so I guess we just deploy that. Or do we save it for a Turncoat? We've got movement here, but I think we just move around here. I think we're going to deploy a mine. Oh, we don't have a mine, so it's Stitchy is a sacrifice. Stitchy is going to die here, but that's the plan. So all we're trying to do now is not lose these control points and gradually kill the captain or Toner. So we're in a bad spot, don't get me wrong, but we can start chipping this all down. As it stands at the moment, their captain's going to heal 9, but if they kill Stitchy, they heal 7. We can start putting damage out. Like, we can start damaging Beatrice, damaging Extilior. This is a close game. But I will say, I'm not worried about how the list's working. The list seems fine, I'm probably just piloting it incorrectly. Now we're back to 3s, so Torians are good for a 3. Or Axl Pyro is actually good into what they've got on the battlefield. This means they can't kill Stitchy without going for damaging themselves as well, which is nice. Yeah, that doesn't reach us, does it? It does. Aha, take your shield off. Wrong order, but if they're going to spin, that damages a bunch of their own things as well. So 2 of ours, 2 of theirs, which is absolutely fine by me. Okay, they didn't, which is also nice. So they don't hold any objectives, which is exactly what we need to keep doing. What we can do, we need to kill Toner. Like, Toner is the thing that's stopping us winning this game, so if we Detonia here, we actually kill loads. Yeah, because this shows how much damage we're going to do to the Nectarvine. And then the Nectarvine will die to this. Right, so now what? We can start moving towards their objectives here. We've got the most units we can on the battlefield, actually, so we can just use whatever we want. So if we still this here, I think we have to start chipping away at things like that. We will heal ourselves. Move over here. So I believe that's still on the point. So we can move this over here. Go for that shot. Oh, we've already used it. Oops. Move over here. Pop this over to hit here. Sleeper mine, sleeper mine. Oh, I didn't think I'd entered that turn, but sure. This is awkward. I didn't think of this. I was trying to put a sleeper mine down, but Oh no, we're losing both. Okay, so now we need to get something back on this point. I think Chuck can reach, actually. Yeah, Chuck can make it on there. So as long as we're still damaging that, and this lets us deploy more crew, so we can look at deploying something like, what have they got here? So Turncoat would actually be good here, but maybe Torian and Axl Pyro together would be better. We can go Turncoat and Pyro. Turncoat and Pyro seems good. Yeah, I mean, you can bring yourself into range if you want. That doesn't stop us getting there. Oh, I thought they were in range for us to attack back there. That would have been good. So they're probably trying to block us off of this point, but we can just deploy onto it with Torian and make it really tough to deal with. Again, we just need to deal with this toner, and then we can start controlling the map. We probably should just be moving this slowly around the side. I'm trying to think what's the best way of doing this. It might even be Furia, because Furia helps us chip through these armoured units and just save up a Cinder for the following turn and then play Turncoat. Or what's this going to be? Okay, so there's a hit and run. We can actually deal with hit and run. So that's okay. Yeah, so we're getting points there. So we need to lob explosives here. No world in which that's not good for us. We can pop over here, which stops them for one turn, or we can just deploy something else. So let's go here. We can kill this and try and block that in place. We want to deploy, I think it is Torian here to make it harder for them to remove us from the points. Move Detonia away. This as well, slightly as well. Shoot that. We can pop a sleeper mine down here. That should be really inconvenient for both of those. We can make another Nectarvine, but we can also just play an Axl Pyro somewhere, which honestly is probably just over here. Yeah, I think we just need to... Okay, we don't want to toss shrapnel, that doesn't actually help us any. This is a great game. I want to say, like, congratulations to Yang Seal, you're doing a really good job at making life very difficult for me. Because we can't deal with Extilior, but we're having to deal with the crews and stay alive on all the points the entire time. We could let them have one. Okay, so this is ambush, so that has to be Aria. There's nothing left it can be except Aria. So I don't think there's even a safe spot for her. Maybe over here would be safest. Yeah. That's probably the safest Aria spot in my opinion. But we're going to have to try and chew through 2 armoured units and an Aria at some point. I mean, the question is, can we even get Stitchy over there? Oh, Extilior can move through that gap. That's not good for us at all. So the chances are, though, we can actually kill Toner this turn and start just chipping damage onto Extilior and win that way. Yeah, protect that. Yeah, I think we have to turn now and start moving damage onto Extilior and trying to save ourselves another way. So that does mean that we can play Turncoat next turn, which is good. Yeah, that's all fine. So here we can actually play like a little shuffle maybe. They missed but hit 1, that's fine. Beatrice is still just stuck over there. And they've got 2 units left on the bridge, 4 on the battlefield. Okay, so here we're just going to poke that again. Axl is just going to come and flame it as well, just to get the kill and hopefully move back onto the objective. There we go. Honestly, we can probably just hit Extilior and move it away, or something like that. Yeah, I think we need to just start looking at... Okay, so let's grab this. We don't have that many abilities to use the thing, so let's not take any risks. Let's grab disc that there. Sleeper mine about here, just out of spin range. This can go... How far is our explosive? Not over there yet. So that's going to die, so actually chipping Extilior matters. And moving over here. This can move back here. Chuck can just keep damaging this. Poke some damage in here. We missed, a 92% miss. What we can do is just... yeah, we still need to hold this, but maybe that brings us just in range if we... yep. Okay, that's our turn. We're using all of our allotted time here. You know, we're not rushing through. There goes Toner. So now we're at the point where we're just move blocking things, trying to chip away stuff slowly, you know, getting damage in as and where we can. This might actually be the biggest risk here. Yep, so Axl Pyro is going to be a problem, but we just want to get that burn onto Extilior once, to be honest. Yep. How much damage we got? 1, 2, 3, 4 damage we can get onto Shrapnel, so we're still 1 short on that front. Potentially 5 though. So Extilior spins again, yep. Protect someone probably. Yeah, so we're going to be back on the keep Extilior away from everything plan. And we're on 4 victory points, but not quite 5. What's our next unit? It's Turncoat. So Turncoat coming over here is brutal because we can just steal the Beatrice. Or even just Turncoat over there. 2 turns they can't kill that. Sure. So that means we can toss her off the point at least. So can we do anything here? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. But these won't even chip through enough. So
perfect form takes sweaty practice.
What might be the case here is we actually come over here. I actually think we do hit first. We take the hit back, then toss, because we're going for different forms of winning. Attack down here. Pop a sleeper mine down over here.
We're burning time here.
Honestly, I think Axl Pyro just has to run slightly. Just go in this direction. Which takes that out. We can grav disc that down here, I suppose. Chuck an explosive down and run up here. This Scattervine can move over. This one just tucks in here. Again, we don't need to do much here. The awkward part is we can't actually deploy Turncoat. In fact, we need to move this here. Might as well hit. Oh no, shouldn't hit. Hitting is bad here because they could hit us back, which is what happened. If we didn't want to do that because we wanted to try and just... we don't care about that living. That's the thing. Ooh, 1% chance to hit with the Torian buff. Nice. It can definitely push our captain down. Yeah, so if they're going to go clear up here, that's pretty reasonable. We need to just move this in to be relevant, because this is just wasting a slot at the moment. So maybe we actually send one of our vines in to just die. Axl Pyro being able to get into this would be good. But we're not out of this yet. At the start of our turn we're gaining 2 points. If we can get 1, 2... we can get 2 damage over here. Not quite any more. Maybe if we actually grav disc Axl we could even get there as well. Get 3, which at least puts us 1 turn away from it. What's coming next? I can't decide how we need to win this, is the problem. Okay, crankbait doesn't matter. It pulls us off of things, which is inconvenient, but not the end of the world. Especially not if we just start pushing damage in. So, can we get in range there? No. We can push damage in this way. They could kill us there, though. So let's go for this first. I think we are going to push damage in. We can grav disc. We just want to grav disc Axl down, basically. Bring this down to here. maybe this here and fire flame ourselves. This does put us back on the point at least, I think. Yeah. Get Detonia to pop this down. We can still Sleeper Mine as well. So where do we want to Sleeper Mine? It's probably something like here? No, because they can just use that against us at this point. We can't even growth, we can't deploy.
How about a grenade?
Chuck can just do 1 damage. This is what we want. We just can't let them score 2 at the start of their turn. We only need 3 more. So this could miss though. It's only a 40% chance. Okay, they hit our captain, so they're in a good spot on that front. So maybe they can actually get to the burst us down stage of the game. But the question is, how are they going to stop us scoring? Here is an issue, because we're still slightly away from dealing with this. Okay, they got that hit. That's very frustrating. So now they can actually kill this as well. I mean, that doesn't matter. Unless they deploy onto this middle objective, we're very, very close to winning. Exilior's running away. This is such a good game. For the first game with a list, this is working out so well. Yep, but then you can only deal 1 there, we deal 2 back. So we need to start defending this again, but we've got so much Cinder to do so. Both Turncoat and Furia. So much leadership, rather. Yeah, so this is fine. We can deal 2 back here. We need to keep this objective safe. That's their Turncoat, okay. So, we need to stop their Turncoat, basically. This is now the Turncoat game. So we attack Turncoat. Or do we just try and move?
Grenade?
There we go. This seems pretty good. We can get Turncoat from here. So we can get both of those, but what we actually want to do first is just move a little back so we're not in range of it ourselves. Explosives, these 2.
Incoming!
It's almost time.
Oh, hang on. Oh, oops. Okay, so now we need to actually just grab disc ourselves. Okay, so we just shoot this. Bash it with this, see if we still hold that objective or not. We don't, okay. So we are going to have to just grav disc ourselves this way slightly. And just deploy onto it with both Furia. And we can also just deploy a Turncoat in this direction. Scattervine can head over here. We can deploy a mine. Do we need a mine anywhere? Not really, other than blocking Beatrice in. Let's block Beatrice in. Okay, so now Furia's in here ticking up. They can try and push damage onto her, but that's not going to go well because they have to focus on that and nothing else. Killing this is fine. This takes us out of contention here, but then we can stop them scoring that next turn. So they need to be on all 3 objectives to stop us taking it. This is going to come down to victory points, isn't it? Because if we can get our damage onto shrapnel, then we take this out of contention. They've got no units left to deploy. This is everything they've got. So we could use Furia to probably take something out. So this stops us scoring 1 point. Beatrice has to move onto that centre point. We have to deploy something onto their next turn. No, but nothing's on the centre. Nothing's on the centre. We're going to win. Oh my goodness. That's it. That's all they can do, isn't it? I can't see anything else that can move. We're going to get 2 points. We're at 9. We're going to win this game on victory points. Oh, what an amazing game. I think our opponents just realised that there's nothing else they can do. They can shoot this. That takes me off of this point, but it doesn't take me off the centre. There we go. What else have they got to do? They've got no movement left on any of their units. Yes! Oh, I shouldn't be as excited as this, but that was such a fantastic game. There we go. Our opponent conceded. They've realised then at the last minute we had enough points. That's one of the best games I've played so far, is with a list I've just come up with, and honestly, it felt great. It was really, really fun, really interactive. Our opponent got an early lead, we managed to pull back. That Toner and Torian early on felt nearly insurmountable. We managed to come back and actually win the game as well. What a fantastic game. I should have gone through and looked at the extra screens, but a huge congratulations to our opponent there, Young Seal. That was a brilliant, brilliant game. Really enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys did too. If you did, feel free to hit that subscribe button. There's going to be loads more coming. If you want to see more things like this, do the same thing. Let me know in the comments where I've gone wrong, where you'd have played differently, and pop a like on the video as well. If you want to support over on Patreon, it's the best thing you can possibly do to help the channel. The link's in the description down below, but more important than any of that is thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.